Financial success is a lifestyle. It's not something that you're going to just get one day and that's it. You're going to do this every single day for the rest of your life.
Hello and welcome everybody to another episode of the Smarter Money Show. My name is Vlad. Today on the show, we have financial coach and entrepreneur. He is the founder of Abundance University, author of Money Seeds, the 30 Principles of Money, and he is the host of Money Mondays, which is a financial education podcast that you can find on YouTube. Please welcome Lawrence Cain Jr.
Hey, thanks for having me, Vlad. Appreciate you.
Lawrence, I've heard you once describe yourself as a ratchet turned financial coach. This was several years ago, right? So maybe you want to rephrase it, but I'm curious, what did you mean by that?
For lack of better words, I was a little unfiltered, right? I knew I wanted to do big things. I know I wanted to be successful. But I kind of let my environment dictate that success and determine that success. And over the years, I've refined myself. I've understood exactly what I wanted to do. I've identified what success looks like for me. And I don't let anyone or anything come in between me and my goals. So that's basically how we've gotten here.
I'd love to learn more about that journey and that path. And at what point did you decide to take a professional leap and start your business, which is Abundance University?
Sure. So before I graduated college, I actually took 3 years off between high school and college. A lot of people thought I would never go back to I would never go to college because I took so long to get there. And I was like, I'll go when I'm ready. So I went to school for business management. And while I was in school, I had a personal finance class, and it really altered the course of my life. I was so fascinated with the terminology and the verbiage that I found myself looking at the glossary even after I was finished with homework. And that prompted me to apply for a bank job here in Cincinnati, Ohio. I worked there for a couple of years, left there. I worked in financial aid at a local college, and then left there. And I worked at a private lending startup company doing some servicing and back end things. And while I was there, that's when I decided to start my own financial education company, Abundance University. And the sole purpose of it was to teach kids early what we learn late when it comes to understanding what money is and not just money, but finances in general, because we know as adults, it's bigger than just making money and spending money. But, you know, we have the pillars of Abundance University that touch everything that our kids need. And we also do things with adults.
So did you find that your new knowledge that you were acquiring about finance and you were learning and your passion was growing, was it changing your life as well? What impact was that making on your life that got you inspired to also share it with others?
Part of the inspiration was having a child. that really changed how I viewed my financial situation, right? It wasn't just about me anymore. I was 22 when I had my first child. Fast forward 10 years later, I have 3 children. I'm married and a homeowner. Like I didn't even think I wanted to own a home 10 years ago, you know? So, you know, again, I think my experiences and my situations personally aided me to learn the information for myself. And then as I spoke with certain clients at those jobs, saw that they necessarily didn't have the same knowledge as I did, and some of them were double my age. That was concerning for me. And instead, I always had this mindset that I never wanted to just hoard information. If I could be a resource to anybody, I want to do that. So that's kind of where it comes from, just naturally. But then again, getting the education and starting the company the right way and for the right reasons it was also important to me.
Well, you're absolutely right. I mean, listen, having kids can definitely change your view on a lot of things, going from living a somewhat of a selfish life to being 100% focused on them and somebody else applies to finance too, and you have to take more responsibility with how you distribute the dollars and kind of have a more long-term outlook. So I can definitely relate to that. And you brought up a good point that the financial knowledge and literacy or educational awareness, whatever you kind of want to call it, I would say confidence, that combines all those things. It's equally required on all age spectrums. And just because you're older doesn't mean you're somehow more educated or aware of the right elements of finance. And what I found is that, and if you look at even all the people that are making, six-figure salaries, but are still living paycheck to paycheck, not because of their really necessities, but more because of lifestyle, and a continuous lifestyle inflation that kind of happens as you move up. So there's all these little things that impact people. So I'm really happy that through your journey, you were able to focus and kind of realign your view. And you then started Abundance University, which I would love to learn more about it, what it is, what it does, right? And who do you help with that business?
Sure. So Abundance University is all things financial empowerment. So through our Money Seeds program, which is derived from the books that we've written, Money Seeds 30 Financial Principles for the Next Generation, Money Seeds 15 Business Principles. We take those books and create a curriculum around them to where we go into schools. We start at grade 3. So we have third graders that we're teaching financial education, and we go all the way through college. We've done workshops for the University of Cincinnati, Xavier University, Miami, Ohio, just to name a few. Essentially, we're teaching them not just the basics, right? But situational. Why is a credit card good or bad? Why is a budget good, period, right? Whether you want to splurge on a new car or you want to take a vacation, a budget is beneficial for those things. And again, we have 6 pillars of the program. So we talk about how to earn money. We talk about how to manage money. We talk about how to invest money. We talk about how to build healthy relationships. We talk about how to goal set. And we also talk about having the right mindset when it comes to your financial situation and financial journey. Within those 6 pillars, we incorporated the 30 financial principles in that. And again, we work with different schools across the country. Obviously, we do a lot of things in person here where I'm stationed in Cincinnati, Ohio. But we also, with the pandemic, we're able to venture out of the city and do some virtual teaching. We also do things for adults. We have the books. We have Money Seed 30 Financial Principles for Adults. We also do workshops. We call them financial empowerment seminars. So like yourself, we've partnered with other financial institutions to put on these events in the community. I always like to host these events like literally in the community. So we're not using a fancy hotel. We're not going into a corporate conference room. We're doing them in the recreation centers. We're doing them at the schools that these kids and the parents are familiar with. We've even done workshops in laundromats. So we like to keep the community feeling because we're a small business. So we want to make sure that we touch the people who need it the most. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. We also have an online Patreon that we just launched in Abundance University. So if you're familiar with Patreon, we have 2 memberships, one for the teenagers and one for adults. And they literally get access to all of our different videos as far as what's inside of the pillars.
I find it amazing that you are able to work with third graders. And I think for a lot of people, it's a debate of what is, too early or just early enough to start talking to kids about finance. And a lot of people will say that there's no point talking to kids about finance until they get to, at least university, because it simply doesn't apply. What do you think about that?
I think we underestimate the knowledge that our kids already have access to. And when you think of social media, when you think of technology and the phones, you think of YouTube, our kids already get access to what money can do for them. So if we get them the right principles, and again, we're not, you notice the principles, we have some of it involving money, but then we also have the pillars of the mindset, the relationships, how to set goals and achieve them. So we pride ourselves on being able to make the content relatable for that third grade class that, again, they're learning math, and that's what finances is. It's addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. And you have to understand, based on the situation, which of those do you use? If you need more money, you need to add. How do I add, right? If I need to cut back on expenses, that's subtraction, right? If I want to scale my business, that's multiplication, right? So it's like, if I need to hire people, I need to multiply my revenue and I need to divide it amongst new hires, right? So it's like, we talk about finances really from the start of being able to understand what money is. You think of your birthdays when you were younger. Most people gave you money, and you typically used the money for what you wanted. So they already have the concept. So let's just give them, let's start them early enough to where when they get into 11th grade, 12th grade, and into the universities, they already have a solid foundation that they're not going to make the same mistakes we did with credit cards, with any consumer debt, and just building up the community. I feel like the smarter the consumer, the better the economy will be.
Absolutely. And I was actually speaking to another guest on the show, and she was explaining to me the importance of sharing with your kids your own mistakes that you've made and like teaching them. And I think a lot of people, and as parents, sometimes we can feel shameful if we made, if I make a lot of mistakes as a young person with my credit card. I don't want to always, there might be some shame element involved. And I think that sometimes is the reason why there just isn't as much talk about finance in general and money, whether it's at home or at work. Do you find, as you work with that and you work with different people in a different financial situations, right? Some of them maybe are trying to tackle debt. And there might be a little bit of a discomfort level. Like, how do you get people to get over that and be honest, not even just with others, but like with themselves about, this is my actual financial situation. This is my honest budget and spending and financial habits.
Absolutely.
What do you say to them?
So one of the key principles in our book is judge each day not by its harvest, but by the seeds you sow into it. This principle is an African proverb. And it really tackles the ability to forget about what has happened and focus on what can happen, what will happen. If you do any farming or any gardening, if you plant apples and you take care of the apple seeds, it will become an apple tree, right? So if you sow the seeds of good budgeting, if you sow seeds of effective debt elimination, you naturally will get to your goals. And kind of to go back to what you were saying with, as a parent, not wanting to share that information of, maybe you call it a mistake or, just something that didn't work out in your financial favor. Like, I'm really big on sharing those with my son. My son is 10 years old. I tell him all the time, I'm like, man, I need to stop buying shoes. Like, this is not beneficial to my finances. I never want my kids to think I'm perfect. I intentionally put myself in vulnerable situations that I'm not comfortable with or the expert in, so they can see that you're not always going to be great at something. And I think we have this mindset that our finances have to be perfect. And it's not necessarily the perfection. We just need to have a positive progress in our finances. So some people can't double their income in a year. But can you increase it by 20%? That's success, right? If instead of being debt-free in 5 years, what if you can be 60% debt-free in 5 years? What does that look like? That's success. And that's where collectively we have to say, you know what? It's not about this mark, right? It's not, I'm 40 years old. I should be here. It's, how do I want my expenses to look on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis? How do I want my income to look? And then do I have good daily habits, right? Am I avoiding, online shopping? Am I making, smoothies here as opposed to going out
Right.
to the smoothie place, right? There's a lot of things that happen during the day that you can control. And if you stay intentional with those decisions, then over time, it makes it for a good story and a good successful story for the finances.
I really love that principle because the all the greatest rewards always lack the effort, right? Like if you want to get fit and healthy, you need to work out today. You're not going to get fit today, right?
Right.
Same thing with finance or with books. If you want to feel more, educated about a topic, you got to start reading now. But it's going to take a lot of time until you actually feel like you're more knowledgeable. So it all lags always, and we have to have faith that if we establish those positive habits and take care of those systems that guide us on a day-to-day basis, just focus on today, then the rest will kind of take care of itself. The goals take care of themselves.
Absolutely. I'll just say this. The other principle with that is that the seed is always smaller than the harvest. So everybody thinks that you have to do this big act to get to the big goal. And it's like, if you want to get debt free, if you have $50,000 in debt, even if you're making an extra $14 to $15 extra on that lowest debt and you debt snowball it, that you can really make a big imprint on that debt. So it's not about like, oh, I need to make an extra $1,000. Try just to make an extra $100 a month and put that towards the debt, or put that towards your vacation, or put that towards your investment account. Put that towards, your children's college fund. It doesn't have to be this big amount, and it doesn't have to be this big act. To make $100, you may have to talk to 10 people. Talking to 10 people may only take an hour, but we'll take 5 hours just to get ready. Yeah. So it's like, just put in the work and trust the process.
Right. Well, I would love to get into more of these principles and get into some of the practical tips and advice that you could share that you've seen work for other people that you've worked with, and have our audience walk away with them. But before we get into it further, I think that it would be useful for a lot of people to wrap their head around, how do you go about defining financial success or financial, well, I suppose wealth, or even financial freedom? Do you find that people struggle with that? Like, is it helpful? Like, how do you define, have a definition in mind? Because I would imagine that it can be different for different people. Can it?
Absolutely. I think financial success is challenging for people who look at the other people's definition. So financial success for me is making $250,000 a year and living a life where I can always come to my kids' sporting events or school events. I want to be able to take at least 2 trips a year. I want to be able to spoil my wife with whatever she wants. I want to be able to work out at least 5 days a week. I want to be able to donate to my community. I want to be able to continue to spread financial education. So that's what financial success means to me. To go a step further, financial success is really financial happiness. It's looking at your bank account and being happy. It's walking around your house and being happy. It's looking at your kids, looking at your health and being happy with the decisions that you've made and the decisions that you will make without feeling stressed. Nobody wants to feel stressed, even if you or if you say you're okay with organized chaos. That's one thing. But I think if everybody had a choice, financial peace and just peace in general is what we're all after. So that does look different. And what we teach people is that you need to have a list of things that make you happy when it comes to your finance. So how much do you want to have as emergency savings? How much do you want to have in investments? When do you want to retire? Or are you even in an industry that you enjoy? Like, do you wake up every day feeling happy to get to work? Like me, I enjoy what I do, right? I'm a full-time entrepreneur. I love having conversations about money. I love teaching people about money. I love helping people write their own books and design websites. Like I do a lot, like I do everything for my business, and I enjoy that process every single day.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm happy. Now the money that I want to make isn't here yet, but I know I'm on track because of the seeds that I'm sowing.
Right.
Right. So that is the most important piece. So anybody listening and watching this, you have to have your own definition of what financial success is for you, which is what makes you happy. What's going to make you happy with your finances? The house, the cars, all of that is okay, and that's important. But if you wake up and you feel stressed because you have to try to find money, or like that's not financial success. And like you said earlier, there's people making six figures and still live paycheck to paycheck. So it's not the amount of money, it's about what you do with the money and how are you mindful of the lifestyle that you eventually want to get to.
I think that's great. And I have heard before somebody say that a good way is not just to kind of say an arbitrary thing of like, oh, I want to have $1 million, but visualize and actually put down a list, like you said, of those experiences that are important to you. Like I want to be able to travel a certain amount of time. Right. And then that gives you an opportunity to actually calculate what does that require, like, and then the money becomes a means to your goals as opposed to some sort of a destination. There was a quote I heard recently from Kevin O'Leary that I really loved. He was talking about financial freedom. And he said, like, financial freedom isn't about not working. It's not that you don't work, because you could work and you love what you do. But it's waking up in the morning and knowing that, you love your work, but you don't have to get up and go there, like you have that choice. I thought that was really cool. I'm like, you know what? Yeah, I've had the experience personally to work for in the corporate world for like a good solid 10 years, similar to yourself. And I've kind of led an entrepreneurial type of life for the past 5 years. So I've seen kind of the two sides of the spectrum. But I'm totally with you, man. I think we're all on the way there. I also feel the same way. I feel like the seeds that we're planting are going to be harvested a little down the line. So,
right. You have to have delayed gratification, right? It's just like when you said with fitness, when you work out today, if you trying to get abs,
yeah,
it's not going to show up today because you did 100 sit-ups. So it's the repetition, it's the routine, it's your eating. You have to mind what you eat. Like for the, if you're watching, like I have there's food at home, right? So we even talk about, watch how you utilize eating out. Like, is eating out the exception or the rule? And if it's the rule, then you have to change that. I like to eat good too. However, I also know that if I want to continue to save at the rate that I'm saving and be able to, again, enjoy this financial piece, eating at home is my lifestyle, right? Working out is my lifestyle. Saving is my lifestyle. Making money is a lifestyle, and being an entrepreneur. So it's not this thing where it's like, all right, I'm going to do this for 4 months. And if it doesn't work out, I'm going to stop. Or if I do achieve success, I can relax. Like, no, I make these things my habits and my routines. And that's what we have to do for our goals. You should be looking at your goals at least once a week. I know we say it up here and we say, oh, I want to be debt free, but you have to have that goal written down and be able to visualize it and say, okay, I said this. When do I expect? Like, we should have a spirit of expectation based on the seeds that we're sowing. Like, we shouldn't just say we want it and it's a wish. We should say, based on the work that I'm putting in on a day-to-day basis, I'm going to hit this mark. We want to work with 10 schools every single day. That's our goal. In order to do that, we have to talk to schools. We can't just think that the schools are going to come knocking on our doors. I'm waiting on brochures right now. When they come in next week, I'm actually driving to 4 schools every day until we get the contracts. Like, that's just what we have to do. And I think most people understand the work that they have to put in, but are they willing to put that work on the calendar as an important thing? right? It has to go from here to the calendar, from the calendar to actually doing it.
Right. Right.
So
And the execution of it can be intimidating and it can be overwhelming because it's easy to get excited in our head when we're like walking down the street or, taking a shower, right? But the execution of it can be intimidating for sure. So that's where I feel what's worked for me, for example, is just focusing on small wins, like little wins at a time, because you're not going to build wealth in a day and you're not going to do anything else really in a day that's meaningful. Like, how do you get people to actually execute the plan and do what they know should be done? Like, let's take budgets as an example. Let's say somebody has gone through the exercise, they figured out their goal, they've worked out their budget, they've done the tracking spending. Now they're like, all right, I'm going to try to stick to this budget. How do they go about it, and what's your recommendation for them to be successful?
So part of it is you utilizing and setting up systems. So for some people, they need to see a spreadsheet. They're analytical, they need to see that. So for that person, make sure you have your spreadsheet and put it on the calendar that you're going to look at your spreadsheet on a weekly basis. For some people, you can use an app. So, there's like Mint has an app. Personal Capital is my favorite that I use here in the States. There's a lot, just so you can find out, based on how you want to get notified. Some of them, they notify you every day. Hey, you spent $15 more today than you did this same day last month.
Right.
So it's holding you accountable. For those who have spouses, you want to set up financial meetings. So my wife and I, we have a financial meeting once a month. We go over the debt. We go over, all right, how much do we have coming in? Because since I'm a full-time entrepreneur, she's a full-time teacher. Her income is way more stable than mine. So we have those honest conversations. I'm like, hey, I don't have a lot in the pipeline, but we have this, I have this already in the business account and I'll transfer it over. And so it's like we're having those conversations and it keeps us accountable. It also keeps us at peace. You don't want to be unsure, and you don't want to have your spouse unsure that things can go south. And if you don't have a spouse, have an accountability partner, get a financial coach, and really start investing into your future when it comes to your finances. Like it's super important to have those checks and balances from a financial standpoint. We have it at our jobs, right? We have staff meetings and department meetings. When you look at our communities or our schools, they have city council meetings. They have parent teacher conferences. We have all of these meetings set up specifically for that thing.
Mm-hmm.
We have to do that for our finances.
It sounds like a key factor in sticking to a budget is to form the habit of looking at it at a regular basis. So you kind of find out the means first, whether it's a spreadsheet or an app, but you have to make the effort to put it either on your calendar, or maybe you put the budget like somewhere very accessible so you can't not see it on a regular basis. So you're always reminded of it. And then hopefully over time, you've just formed that habit so that if you don't go over your budget at the end of the week, something doesn't feel right, just like that itch you get to go to the gym if you haven't worked out for a while.
Absolutely. Think of it like the gym. If you take a week off and you go and work out on your legs, that next day is going to hurt. You know it, right? So what do a lot of people do? They don't go. They just push it off.
They just don't do legs.
So it's like you just have to, again, make it the lifestyle. Like financial success is a lifestyle. It's not something that you're going to just get one day and that's it. You're going to do this every single day for the rest of your life. You're going to fall off one weekend, for many of us with spouses, you want to make the anniversary real big. Start planning for it. Like me, I'll be married in 3 years, we're going to be celebrating our 10-year wedding anniversary. I'm already trying to map it out. Like, okay, we want to have this. We know we want to go out of the country. Is that the Santorini, Greece, or is that Mexico? Like, what does it look like? So we're planning it literally right now. We're having a conversation. So it's about planning for the unexpected and make it expected. Expect things to happen in your life And if you have the emergency fund, if you have the sinking funds, if you're always mindful that because you have money now, that doesn't mean that you're always going to have it, and that abundant style, like you can save yourself a lot of stress. And again, that's our biggest thing at Abundance University. We want you to be happy. We want you to feel abundant, be abundant. And you do that by having the right mindset every single day. Regardless of what happens with your day, you can always control your mindset.
And that's a big one. Like the growth mindset is something that I feel, even in your case, let's say for now you have a goal towards 250K and or somebody else might have a goal towards this, but what may happen as you go towards it is as you get closer to it, you're like, it's not about where you're going. It's almost like how far can you take it, and
absolutely,
because it's no longer about any kind of number. You've had those systems in place and those habits that you've been forming that have allowed you to get here. They can probably take you even much further. So I really love your approach of like focusing on improving your daily habits, your daily systems, and almost looking at financial health just like you do your personal hygiene. Nobody loved brushing their teeth as a kid, right? But like you learn it and suddenly you can't go through the day without brushing your teeth, right? It's such a part of you.
Yes, absolutely.
So you've shared some of these principles and they're all really powerful, and you can talk about each one for a long time. I want to condense, like your book has 30 principles. I want to condense. Are you able to share with us like maybe a small snippet of your top principles that somebody can, listening to this, can by the end of this interview immediately retain and maybe in some way apply to their life?
We'll do top 5. So top 1 is the judge each day, not by its harvest, but by the seed you sow into it. The second one is remember that the seed is always smaller than the harvest. The third one is some people want $50,000 a year. Others want $50,000 a month, right? And just to go a little bit about that is just understanding that everybody's goal is different and you have to have your own. You also need to be mindful that even if yours is bigger than your friends, that doesn't mean you're better than your friend or better than your colleague. I have some buddies who they literally just want to pay their bills, take care of their kids, and take a trip every now and then. They don't want to have multi-million-dollar businesses. And, because entrepreneurship is very popular right now. We think everybody should be an entrepreneur. And it's like, that's not everybody's goal. And I like to tell people that I do the comparison of if people watch sports, LeBron James and Carmelo Anthony, they both were drafted the same year. Mm-hmm. But LeBron was the one that said he wanted to be the greatest. Carmelo Anthony didn't say that. We have to compare them differently. We have to appreciate them separately, right? Because they didn't say they wanted to be the best ever. Both of them didn't say that, only one. So that's that principle, right? Some people, they just want $50,000 a year and they know how to manage that, right? And some people want $50,000 a month because, they want to eat gold-plated steak or something, right? Like expensive things. So we get that, and nobody's wrong for wanting either one. So that's number 3. Number 4 is insurance. It's better to have it and not need it than to need it and not have it, right? So we're big on insurance, whether it's your car, life insurance, homeowners insurance. Like that's a big key investment. Even I have disability insurance for my business. So I have it set up to where if anything happens to me, I don't lose any income as far as what I need to provide for the family. So it's just important, and I may not ever need it, and that's actually a good thing, right? So exactly. That would be number 4. And then the final one is relationships can carry you further than your resume. And that, kind of speaks for itself, but understanding that no matter how many degrees you have, no matter how much money you make, there are certain people that can get you carried into another direction. I mean, again, I've never been to Canada, but yet I can say that I've been on a podcast based in Canada, right? And it's because of building relationships. It's about being able to understand that if I provide value to other people, then those other people can provide value for me. I don't expect the value in return. I'm going to naturally do the value anyway, because that's what fulfills me.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
so those will be the top 5 that I give people out of the book. Again, Money Seeds 30 Financial Principles. It's available on Amazon, and we also have it on abundanceuniversity.net.
Dude, I love these principles. I love the principles. I can't wait to actually read the rest of them. I want to talk about a couple of things that you mentioned, and one of them being the entrepreneurship factor, because you're right. Like, entrepreneurship is hot right now. You know, the gig economy is on the rise, and that's been accelerated somewhat in the past couple of years. And a lot of people now are using technology to kind of activate their passions and side hustles and things like that. And one of the pillars, of course, of your Abundance University is earning money. So I want to talk about that aspect, because one of the main objections that you will hear from people is that, well, you know, sure, I'd love to start a business, but it also takes money, you know, and I don't have it. And I'm already living paycheck to paycheck, and I already have a credit card to pay off. What do you say to people about that? And like, do you talk about entrepreneurship or side income or ability to earn money as part of your program that's not just like your regular job or a part-time job?
Yes. So we definitely talk about that. So we give them different examples. So one of the biggest things that people can do is, I'm gonna go super, like, this is somebody who really does not want entrepreneurship, but they know they need to make extra money. You can do what you're great at your current job for an entrepreneur. So for somebody who's good at administrative assisting or data entry or training, you know, you can literally become a virtual assistant, right? And charge $20 an hour, or, you know, whatever you feel is, you know, your worth in the marketplace, and do that from the comfort of your home. Most people already have internet at home, so it's not like you're going to add an expense. You probably already have a laptop, so you literally can just freelance and do that. And again, whatever you're doing, we're not telling you go to Skillshare and get another skill. We're not telling you go back to school. We're not telling you to go to use your personal car to do Uber or Lyft. We're literally saying whatever you do great.
Yeah.
Now do it for more people from the comfort of your house. So virtual assistant will be number 1. Number 2, you can create your own ebook, audiobook, masterclass, something to where, again, you make once and you can sell it in bulk to people. I think a lot of people underestimate themselves as being an expert. And it's like, you've been working in this industry for over 5 years. That's a lot of hours that you put in. Everybody has their own testimony. They have their own perspective, and people pay for that, right? People go to seminars to get perspective for the most part. I mean, there's nothing new under the sun. So there's no secrets to success, just systems. So I would say that, you know, the digital product thing is super big. And number 3, when it comes to making extra money, is being able to get into that entrepreneurship, but do it at a smaller scale. So maybe you just do events, like where you sell something just at events, so that, you know, you'll get, instead of being that person that's trying to build and go one by one or post on social media all the time, you can look at local events that's happening and say, hey, I can be a vendor and I can set up shop on a weekend basis. So every weekend I'm making an extra $400, and I'm going where the people are. That is something that a lot of people are doing. I know people here that are making a good 4 figures off of just doing events. Like they don't have a brick and mortar place. They don't even do a website. They literally just do events. So those would be what I would recommend for people if they want to make money, and, you know, just figure it out. And then also, we have to address the fact that you have to be patient. Like, you're not just going to have one event or have one product and it's going to do 5,000 sales.
When was it ever easy to just make money? Like,
I don't know.
You know,
I
why?
don't
Just
know.
because there's now an internet and suddenly you can create a profile about yourself, you think money is just going to pour down into your mailbox. It doesn't work that way, right? Like with all the
Right.
technological innovations, of course, it makes it much more accessible to somebody with the talent to actually make their services available, right? It's incredible.
Hmm.
But keep in mind, them and everybody else. So just like you said, for your business, you got to put in the work. So yeah, create that profile, but you probably might have to reach out to a couple of people and tell them that it's available, or like do a little bit of that. What I love about today's world, though, is that if you do feel like there is a skill out there that's in high demand, that is growing, what my favorite part is that you no longer have to go to like a 2-year university program and get some sort of a certification to be eligible for
Hmm.
these jobs. You can literally take a week of daily, research to get yourself familiarized with the topic, and just use YouTube, use podcasts. There are, it's incredible, but for almost any topic out there now, there are legitimate experts that are sharing information for free.
Yep.
For apps.
YouTube University I'm on YouTube more than any other platform. I'm always watching videos. I follow a lot of people, and you can get inspiration, not just the technical skill, but you also, as an entrepreneur, you get to see like, oh, I want my videos to look like that, or hey, what microphone is Vlad using? Oh, that's a Blue Yeti. Let me look at that. So like you're getting
Right.
more than just information
Yeah.
or entertainment. Like you're getting things that you never really considered. Like that is a key part of why it's important to be patient. When I first started, my first year of business, I didn't even charge.
Mm-hmm.
Like I didn't charge anything. Our seminars were free. I would go to colleges and speak for free, go to schools. And now we charge. I mean, we charge anywhere between $3,000 to $10,000 for our program. I do one-on-one coaching for certain people. You got to at least $2,000 for the year to be a part of that. And it's like, I didn't know I would write 3 books when I first started Abundance University, but it's because I was patient and understood that eventually what I needed to do for people that was valuable would come. I was willing to put myself out there. So
Yeah.
everybody watching this and listening to this, if you don't take anything away from this conversation, understand that it's going to take time. So you might as well put in the work anyway. Because in 10 years, I'm going to be 10 years older, whether I put in the work or not. So I might as well put in the work.
And you don't want to be standing there telling yourself the only difference between me now is that I'm 10 years behind.
Wow.
On like what I should have started 10 years ago, right? Because there are certainly things that I know now that I didn't know. I'm 35 now. Like there are certain things that I didn't know when I was 25 and I was doing that were damaging me, or even in my earlier, like even when I was like 19, 20, 21, that I was doing that would have implications, well, way down the line, like I wasn't using credit responsibly. There was other mistakes that I was making that I wasn't even aware, let alone budgeting, investing, put away, like, those elements. If I were doing them, I would be further ahead, right? So I don't want to, now I'm 35, I don't want to be 45 and having that same look back, right? So I think people early on in their lives, especially, young people like just starting out, it's like you want to set yourself up that your future self will be thanking your current self.
Absolutely. And that's where the seeds come in. That's why we named it money seeds. It's like we're planting seeds now so we can get the harvest later.
Yeah. There's one element that I have to bring up because I know that it's a big pillar of financial health, and that has to do with credit. And there is good credit. I wouldn't even say there's credit. There is good use of credit and there's bad use of credit. And I would love to talk to you now about some of the principles that you recommend people apply when it comes to using a credit card, a basic form of credit, just your basic credit card. What are some fundamental things people need to know about if they're just starting to use it, especially perhaps for young people?
For anybody, and specifically young people, you just want to make sure you're leveraging credit and you're not just using it to buy things that you want to buy, like clothes, shoes, trips, like all of that stuff can be saved that you're saved up for. But specifically for credit, you want to make sure that, you do have a credit card. Anything can happen. You want to get access to something while you're out of town, or, maybe that your bank put a hold on your card. I mean, when I worked in banking, we had a situation that the bank that I worked for, something happened to where a credit card and a debit card did not work for 7 hours on a Saturday. So it's important to have different, products like a credit card in case things like that happen out of your control. But you also want to make sure that you're not having high credit usage. Like if you have $1,000 balance or limit, you want to keep that balance relatively low. I always say, if cash is king, credit is the ace. So unless you're going to get a win, unless you're going to use it, like for me, if a school needed books and they were like, hey, we need them, like today's Wednesday. If they're like, hey, we want to get them Friday, I'll use the credit card to, express deliver it overnight. And then, now I get that money and I can pay it right off. That would be one of the main things. The other thing is making sure you pay your bills on time. And when you look at credit, it's really about just being mindful of your money. Like if you pay your bills on time, if you limit buying things that you don't need with credit, you will always have good credit.
Right. Yeah.
It's when you do something bad, now we have to rebuild it.
Yeah.
So that as a young person, it's important to start credit off right.
Right.
As somebody who needs to rebuild credit, just again, have patience, understand what you need to actually do. Like, don't just get another credit card just because somebody told you having a lot of credit cards makes sense. Like maybe you don't need a new credit card. Maybe you just increase the credit limit of your current card, and just do the same principles that you've been doing to get you out of that slump. So that's what I would tell people for credit, because credit is important, but it's not more important than cash flow. So you can have a perfect credit score, but if you can't go out of town because you don't have any money, can that credit, then that's what's going to happen. I'm going to use my credit card to go out of town. Right. Now I just got debt. So cash flow is more important than credit, but credit is still important.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, the one benefit that I like to always stress about credit is the importance of building it isn't just so that you can get more credit in the future. It's so that you don't have to pay as much for certain purchases. Like if you buy a home, two people can get approved for a mortgage, but somebody may have a lower interest rate because they've, been more responsible with their credit in the past. So now the bank is able to give them, they have access to cheaper credit, which is such a huge advantage, especially when you're making big purchases in life.
And when you're an entrepreneur, because sometimes to build good business credit, you have to have good personal credit. Sure. You can't even get a business credit card if you don't have a 665, right? So it's like, it's going to help you as you evolve as a person more than it'll hurt you if you're not careful.
Right.
So.
There's one last thing that I wanted to speak to you about. And as I was looking at Abundance University, I understand that you work also with kids, with lots of universities. You also work in urban communities. Is that right?
Yes.
And I believe that there are unique challenges as well in those communities that are important. We also have in Canada a lot of programs that focus on that too, because I think that to have strong financial confidence is really important at a young age. And I want to learn from you, is there something special considering some of the different challenges that they may face that you usually tell them so they can have the right mindset as they, step forward and continue on with their lives?
Yes, we teach them that financial success doesn't have an age limit. And, for some, kid that wants to be that first generation college student, they may feel pressure, number one, from their family, but number two, they may feel pressure from the financial standpoint. So we're teaching them how to apply for scholarships, how to write good essays to where they can kind of reuse that essay to apply for scholarships. I'm a board member on 2 scholarship foundations, so I try to impose that on some of the students to let them know, hey, even if we're doing a one-day program, I make sure that they need to follow us so that when it's time to get the scholarship application into us, that they're aware.
Mm-hmm.
And then being able to let them know that they're young enough to where they don't have to conform to what everybody around them are doing. Again, when I graduated high school, I didn't go straight to college. Yet I'm just as successful as my peers. I'm still making an impact in the community. I actually coach middle school boys basketball at my old high school. So it's like the life that I have now, nobody even asked me about college.
Yeah.
Nobody asked me like, why
Right.
did you, like, it's like, it was a decision that I made.
Right.
Because I wanted to enjoy life. I didn't feel I'm thankful for my parents that always instilled being true to myself and never feeling pressure to do anything that I didn't want to do and that they didn't expect me to do. So our kids in the urban communities, again, there's a lot of different challenges from family to, just like you said, the mindset. So we just want to be that resource for them. We don't want to ever make them feel like we're coming to save the day. We're just being that we just want to be a true resource that they know that if they need us, that we're there for them.
I think that's awesome because you said earlier the importance of your environment in general, and we as humans a lot of times are very much so influenced by our environment. So I love the fact that you're able to inject this source of information and knowledge for people that it can impact them positively, in the future.
Absolutely.
So we talked about a lot today, Lawrence. Like, we talked about a lot of stuff. I loved the conversation. I loved talking about the different pillars of, making money, saving some money, and kind of having the right lifestyle mindset. I think if I were to sum up this show into like one episode, I would say that financial success is a lifestyle. Like, I love that quote.
Yeah.
I want to thank you. I want to ask you if there's something else that you want to talk about that maybe we haven't covered that's important for yourself or for our audience.
No, I would just, recommend if there's anybody watching this, listening to this that works with kids, definitely reach out to me. Again, with technology, it doesn't matter where you're at. Let's get this program in front of these kids who we know need it the most. So I can, I'm available. I have a team of facilitators that are available. We're just ready to, again, make financial literacy the exception and not the rule.
Yeah. Well, listen, we share your objective. I share your passion. I want to thank you once again for taking the time to speak with me today, to share your lessons and insights with our audience. If they want to learn more about Abundance University or yourself, where should people go?
Sure. They can go to our website, abundanceuniversity.net. They can go to Instagram and Facebook, just type in Abundance University. Follow us, like our Facebook channel. For me, I have a personal website, lawrencecainjr.com. I'm on every social media platform: LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, YouTube, at Lawrence Cain Jr. Like you said, we also have the Money Mondays podcast. So if you listen to it on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, and YouTube, it's all accessible on there. Definitely would love to connect with all of you in the future.
Amazing. Well, thanks again for taking the time, and we'll see you again soon. Take care.
All right, man. Thanks for having me.